Hey, Dawn, thank you so much for joining me for
Thank you
today's
for having me.
conversation. I'm so excited to get to talk to you a little bit more today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the invitation.
Of course. We've been trying to do this since last year, so it's really been cool that I could get you on for the new season.
Absolutely. Yes.
So will you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and myself, because we haven't met,
Yeah.
so that we can know what your journey has been like into entrepreneurship?
Oh, wow. Sure. Well, first, again, thank you so much for having me on your show. I appreciate the invitation. Um, in terms of who I am and how I got here, I have about 17 years in the learning and development space in corporate America. So I have trained leadership development, customer service training. I have also led training and development for a number of organizations, from retail to the Lee Company, which is a HVAC plumbing, and here in Tennessee, the governor's old company, so to speak.
Right.
So I've been in that space for a long time. Always loved it. Always enjoyed it. Did a stint in entrepreneurship when I lived in Chicago. I had another company for 8 years where I taught at-risk youth how to be better prepared to enter the workforce. And then, as I was in this last stint as a manager of training and development for a Lee Company, actually God told me graduate. It was like, okay, so it's time to shift the atmosphere and go into the world of entrepreneurship. And I believe that corporate had really delivered to me a number of great skill sets that helped to prepare me for this moment. And so I made the leap while I was still working at Lee Company. I formed the World Class Training Institute November 13th of 2019. And then I left officially Lee Company in February of 2020. So it'll be officially a year of having left Lee Company coming up on February the 12th, I believe. So, and it's been an incredible journey. It's one, I would not trade for the world.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, you did that during the pandemic, and all of that happened
right
around that same time. Wow.
Yes. Well, I didn't know the pandemic, I think, actually kind of really hit around March, right? So yes. But yeah, sure did.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. That is, we're gonna have to dig into that now.
I know.
So I'm trying to do the math. So you said you started in November and finally left full-time employment in February.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. So, and I think that's important to know, because I know that you're full-time now, but you haven't always been, and just letting people know kind of what that journey looks like. Was it a struggle? Like, what were your hours and stuff like during your full-time work? Were you busy all day, or did you have pockets of time that you could do other things, or how did that work out?
Well, this was the interesting thing. So I supported 8 regional centers of learning and development for our Lee Company University. So I traveled to Huntsville, Cookeville, Tennessee, Bowling Green, Kentucky. We had a couple of locations here in, the Nashville area. And so I would have to travel every day for work, pretty much. And so, to answer your question about, was that a full-time operation? Absolutely, yes. And so that yes. And so what it had to happen was I had to work during the day, and then in the evening I would have to do little pieces of planning and preparation so that I would be ready to venture into entrepreneurship after I left. So it's a working day and night.
Day
that
and
Michael Jackson
night.
song.
Yes. Most definitely. So when you were finding yourself working in those evening hours, was it like a set schedule every day, or were you just trying to, let me finish this one piece tonight? How did you kind of navigate that?
So in terms of my work, I was salaried, so it wasn't like, I had necessarily to clock in at 9 o'clock and clock out at 5. But it was a full work week.
Right.
And how I navigated the other pieces was just writing a plan of what pieces I wanted to put in place before I left. For instance, because I had run a business before, I knew I had to set up my corporation and, EIN number and all of that kind of stuff. That's why that happened in November. And then from there, I just kind of thought through what are some of the other pieces that I wanted to have in place before I left the company.
Right.
One other thing I did was I knew from a social media standpoint, there were certain things that I needed to do to post to get myself out there once I left. And so I developed like a 6-month planning calendar of daily posts that I would do, so that when I left, on different things related to leadership, it may have been like delegation, how to, I don't know, how justice, it could have been just love, a number of different areas. And so that kind of gave me a framework for how I would develop recognition on my business once I left. And so, yeah, there were other little pieces that I just kind of knew I wanted to have in place before I left, so that it wouldn't be just, kind of a total jump out into the water.
That's cool. So were you, did you bootstrap your business, or did you get loans to help you, or did you just kind of save up and then jump in?
So it was more of just money that I was able to have.
You saved up over time.
To be able to, right, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so now in your business, is it pretty much your business is paying for your business?
My business is paying for my business now. Yes, exactly.
That's awesome. Because I mean, that's one of the things that, most of my clients, they're bootstrappers, and it's like, well, I got to go get a loan. No, you don't have to go get a loan. Your business can pay for itself. That's really the best kind of route to take and make that slow progression. So like when you came up with that 6-month plan, was it a hard 6 months, or did you say, I want to have my plan is in 6 months to have this in place and then I can leave? Like, was it a hard schedule?
So the calendar was developed for 6 months. So it was developed from January to June of 2020. Now, have I vacillated from how it's been delivered? Yeah, I did. Absolutely. And of course, with COVID, it's like, okay, we gotta do all this differently. But it was good to have that in place, because, like, for instance, I still do a world-class training institute, Wednesday Wisdom. So that was something that was developed before I left, where I, put out a quote every day. Initially, I was going to do more quotes during the week, but then I felt like that was going to be a bit, too much. So I pulled back on that piece. But yeah, so of course, in business, you have to kind of be agile. And I always say, be solid as a oak tree, that you're going to get there, and then fluid as the water in the direction. So, yeah, there have to be some changes
with everything that you're doing.
Absolutely.
Because you never know what's coming. Right. And I plan on a 3-month planning schedule. Do you have a specific planning process that you go through, where we talked about, you had 6 months of content, but do you typically plan out 6 months at a time, or is it a month at a time, or every 3 months at a time? How do you kind of do that in general for your entire business?
Monthly, pretty much. Now, I did also something called Leadership Live last year, which was a Facebook Live program. That was a 6-month window where I had people who were scheduled, kind of like you have with your with this program, scheduled every week. But I would say I have been at the beginning of every month, I kind of look at what's going on and then plan accordingly. I have a calendar. So maybe eventually it'll get to quarterly or semi-annually.
But I find that things change so often, and as we know, ebbs and flows, and you think that this is what's going to happen in 3 months, but then a pandemic hits,
exactly, right,
completely pivot everything that you were thinking about doing. And so like I said, I try to do it kind of quarterly, and then after that quarter, really just visit month to month to say, okay, this is what I want to do during these 3 months, but every month I kind of just break that month down. And I think that just helps you kind of navigate all the craziness of the world and of your life, because we're talking about business stuff, but at the same time your life pops in there.
Yes, life shows up.
Crazy, right?
That
Right.
is so true. Yes, it does. Yes, yes.
So going back a little bit, because when you, in November, you started your business, you were still working, you had a plan. Was your plan to leave in February, or it just happenstance you had everything done by February?
I didn't know the exact date, but I had a plan where by the end of first quarter of that year that I would be transitioning. Yes.
Mhm. And was that like, were you nervous? Was it just kind of like, oh, I'm ready to go? Like, what was your feeling behind all that?
A combination. A
Mm-hmm.
combination of nervousness and a real readiness. It was really when I say that God said graduate, I'm thinking about, okay, I'm ready to be director. I'm ready to be,
Mm-hmm.
whatever there. And God was like, you trying to be that, and I'm trying to make
Like,
you a
I'm trying to get
CEO.
you over here.
Right,
Right,
exactly.
right.
I'm trying to make you, if
The
you
other
just walk
plans
in
did.
it, right, exactly. And so yeah, I was definitely ready. But yeah, to the extent of I don't know how this is gonna work. I don't know what pieces I'm gonna need to put in place. All and I didn't know COVID was gonna show up.
Right, right.
So yeah, there was definitely a little, and then of course jumping away from that, um, quote unquote security of a paycheck every 2 weeks. It can be a daunting,
Yes.
Yes,
So,
yes.
so in that preparation time, did you just basically say, okay, I'm going to put this money aside so that I have a cushion in my business? Or is it pretty much every month you're like, okay, I got to go grind so that I can pay my bills?
No, I did have a cushion so that I was able to support myself,
Mm-hmm.
during the buildup, which is a blessing because I think that without a cushion, especially in the leadership and development space, it's a longer sales cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not something that I could just go out and be able to
It's
get
not
quickly
instant.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, one thing I will say that has also blessed my business is I ended up during COVID, I wrote a book. And that book has just been amazing. I
Mm-hmm.
never dreamed that I would be, but that allowed me to get revenue stream in that wasn't such a long sales cycle, and then
Right.
also do this fitness piece. So I would suggest, when they say have multiple streams, I definitely recommend that because that's allowed me to bring in,
Mm-hmm.
other monies
Yeah.
while building the business in another area.
And I'm glad that you say that, because so many people that I talk to, it's I'm ready to leave this job and I want to leave in a month. And I'm like, okay, right now it looks like, yeah, you have clientele and you have this ability and you're thinking, okay, yeah, I can jump out and continue to work, but you're not thinking about what happens, if these clients that you have lined up suddenly fall off. What happens with your insurance? you know
Right, right, yes.
and then
Although, yeah,
you
go
if
ahead.
you get to a point where you are robbing Peter to pay Paul, and you're just starting to take in any kind of thing into your business that's not in alignment with your goals, that's what
Right,
that ultimately leads to. So I'm
right,
glad
that's
that you
true.
kind of mentioned that, kind of your stepping approach to
Right,
leaving and then having those multiple streams of income, because I think that is really, really important.
right,
Now, I don't
yeah.
want to butcher the name of the book that you wrote. Um, it has something to do with Obama, doesn't it?
Obama. So it's WWBD. What
Yeah.
would Barack do? Yes, yeah. Inspiring presidential tools for the leader in you. So it's 10 core principles based on how he led his presidency and
Mm-hmm.
his candidacy that people can use as they're leading others. So yeah, that's it's actually been like I said, it that I wrote it because I was inspired several years ago by some things that
Mm-hmm.
he did in the presidency. And then when COVID hit, I was like, I read Becoming, and then I said, I have time now to actually write this book. Let
Finish
me get
it.
started. Yes. And so that's what I did. I sat down, didn't even know how it was going to get published.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw somebody on Facebook who had just published. I called her. I was like, I need for you to help me publish this book. And she did. And so it's like I said, it's been really a blessing because not only have I been able to share this work and now I'm an author and I wasn't last year,
Mm-hmm.
but it's been a great additional stream of revenue that I hadn't anticipated. So.
Right. So I just want to make sure I understand, did you already have the book kind of like the outline of the book already created, or you kind of read Becoming, pandemic hit, and you said, you know what, I've had this in kind of the back of my mind and now it's time for me to put it to paper?
So several years ago, I had really started an outline on it and then put it aside. So chapter 2 of the book is called Do a Barack. And that was the impetus for me doing it, because in that chapter, I speak about how President Obama, when Osama bin Laden was assassinated, was at a correspondence dinner, and he was joking about how, they were talking about whether or not he was born in the United States, and he just seemed so cool, calm, and collected. And then shortly thereafter, in the history books, it says the next day. I thought it was like later that evening, but they say based on, where Osama bin Laden was killed, it was technically the next day. I think it was May 1st. He announces in this like really cool tone, the country did not know that this was happening, right? He's like, we just assassinated Osama bin Laden. I was like, oh my goodness, this is a smooth man here. So I said,
it's like, let me just drop this right here for you.
Exactly. And I said, that's what we have to do in life. Sometimes we have to do a Barack. You have to make a move and talk about it later. Yeah. And so that chapter 2 that's the reason I have t-shirts too, to say do a Barack. I'm doing a Barack, because that was my first moment where I said, he's done some other things that we need to recognize just as you're leading yourselves. Like the first chapter, even though it's on leadership, is on Keep Love Alive. And I talk about, how he took care of his wife and his family. And of course, we're the outside looking in, but from the outside looking in, this person continued to love his wife, even as the president. So what can we do as leaders? And we of course, it's a different type of love, but the agape type, the selfless care and concern for others, we must have as leaders. And so that's the first chapter of the book. But so there, I went back, looked at the outline, and then added, so that I had 10 components. And then now my additional piece is that I put a what will you do moment at the end of each chapter. So it goes from what would Barack do to what will you do?
Now what will you do?
Right, exactly. So people have an opportunity to write down action steps, how they're going to live that out. So so it's been a beautiful thing.
So how long did it take you to at the point when you said, okay, I'm going to do this, to the point when you finished actually writing the book? How long did that process take you?
So from beginning to end, it probably took me about, I think I started in March and the book released July the 8th. So
wow, that was a quick turnaround.
Yeah, but this is what I did. So back to your piece on the planning, I said, I'm just taking myself off the map. I'm not scheduling any meetings for any reason. I'm not going to any networking sessions. I'm going to stand here and I'm going to write, and I'm just going to keep writing.
It's almost like you went to I read a whole bunch of, I watch all these movies where the writers go off and they have their little sabbatical and they just write for a couple months, and then finish their book and then go on. So that's technically what you did. You just did it at home.
You're absolutely right. And you know what? Now that you mentioned that, so I had read Becoming, and this isn't why I did it, but when President Obama wrote Dreams of My Father, he had just married Michelle. Did you read that? Okay, so in the book he talks about, so he went off, I think they were married, it was less than 2 months or something. He said he had to go away to finish, and he went to Bali or something, for a couple of months. And you're absolutely right about that. I did it, but I did it at home, because if you do little by little, it can take forever. But if you just focus that time, you can get it done and then get on to the next thing. And so I'm glad I did that. I just said, no matter what it was, I was like, I can't do it. I got to write this one.
And I'll take, and I'm going to ask you this. Are you single? Are you married? Do you have children?
I have a child. I have been married. Yes, I have been married, but I'm not married currently.
At the time that you were writing this book, what was your home situation?
Oh, okay. So yes, time and space were both in my favor, because my son is an adult and I'm not married currently. So I had
you had your space. Yes, I had a mama. I'm sitting over here like, I'm not gonna be able to do that. You know what I mean?
I understand that.
You know,
Yes.
I mean, I think it's important for us to talk about that, you know, because
Absolutely.
there are going to be people who are like, I have this dream, I have this thing in my head, I have this gift, this information that I want to get out into a book
Sure.
form, but I can't take a 3-month sabbatical, you know.
Exactly.
What does that look like for me? And I think that
True.
breaking that down into actionable steps,
Right.
for a given period of time, they may not be able to do it in 3 months. Theirs may be 6 months, you know.
Yep.
So
You're right.
I think it's important for us to just kind of talk about that, you know.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true. I will say though, yeah, even with kids, if there's something that we have to do, it's important that we chunk out. Like you say, it may not be that you can say, you know what, I can't do anything for this week. I just got to do this. But you got to say, this is my book time. This is my couple of hours that I'm going to do this. Right.
And, you know, it's interesting because like my daughter's 7, and a lot of times when I talk to parents, they think, oh, well, you know, I can't do this because, you know, they're going to need my attention and yada, yada, yada. Literally, I will say that there are times when she's like, I want to snuggle. I want my mama, you know, and she's not trying to hear anything I have to say.
Right.
If I explain to her, like, mommy's got to do a video, you know, for the people. That's usually what I say. I got to do a video for
okay,
people,
right.
You know, and she's like, okay, well, can I be in the video? You know, but she understands
yes
the process, and like, mommy's got to record something right quick. I'll be 20 minutes and I'll be right back, you know.
Exactly.
So I think explaining to them, hey, I'm writing a book. What is your book
yes
about? You know, and talking to them about it and explaining that process, I think it'll be a little easier for you to get those quiet moments when you
that's so true. Exactly. That's right. Yeah. Children are resilient and they are very understanding. If we talk to them in plain language, they can get it. Yeah.
And it teaches them that, hey, you know what,
yes
we have to, if there's something we want, we have to work for it, you know.
That's right. That's so true. Yeah, you are absolutely right about that. Yes,
definitely. Well, that's interesting. Okay, so then the publishing of the book, so we finished the book,
yes
got that together, now you got to get the book out there. So what was your process? I know you said you met up with a young lady and talked to her about her process.
Right. So yes, well, actually, no, she is the one who helped me publish it because I didn't know how to publish. Right, exactly.
Got you.
So I contracted her to actually help me get it published. And she helped me with some of the first pieces of marketing material for it. So she was amazing with helping me do that. I said I want it out by July the 8th, and it was out on July the 8th. So that was fantastic.
Yeah, that's
now the process afterwards, after it gets out, you got to sell it. It's like,
well, I was about to say, is it self-published or is it at a publishing house?
Yes. So it was self-published through Amazon.
All right.
But so after it was published through Amazon, then it was my responsibility to go out to different outlets and try to get it in bookstores, which I was able to get it in a bookstore here in Nashville, and then 2 in Atlanta and 1 in Philadelphia. And then to get it on barnesandnoble.com, I was responsible for doing that. So it's, you know, all of the other work to actually sell the book, that part had to.
You had to do that.
Come on me. Exactly. Right.
So what was that process like? I mean, to get, because I don't know how it works to get your book in Barnes and Noble, for example. Like, what did you did you just call them and say, hey, I want you, you know, how does that work? So
Barnes and Noble, you have to, barnesandnoble.com, you have to go through their vendor setup process, which takes a few weeks to do. For the stores, I just went. I mean, you know, I went to, I didn't even realize Alkebulan was where it was. I'm riding down the street one day. I said, I need to go in here and just, let me ask him if I can put my book in the store. And that's what I did. And then I was like, there must be other African-American bookstores. Let me go find them. So I researched online and found about 100 of them. So, and then I researched from there and found out which ones were actually really viable and doing well. And I highlighted those as my green ones. And just like, you know, you would sell anything else, right. I'm sure in your business, I was like, okay, those are the ones I'm going to target. And that's what I did. And so, a couple of them, when I went to Atlanta, I went in and saw one guy, a Nubian bookstore, and told him, and he bought them right there on the spot. So, so some of them will do consignment. Alkebulan bought them right there on the spot. So, you know, but it just comes down to, you gotta You're in business for your book.
Right. Like you've got to sell it. You've got
You got to sell it.
You got to
Right.
want it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're talking about your process. Last season we had Dakota Grady on. I'm not sure if you all have connected.
No.
Dakota, he wrote a book as well. And so we were talking about his process, and your processes are completely different.
Okay.
And, they both work. You both are published authors.
Right.
It's a different journey. And I think it's so important to see, how things vary between.
Sure.
It's the same thing. They just vary because your process is a little different.
Right. Exactly. So, what did he do?
His book is finance based. He's
okay.
an accountant, and so it's finance based. It's in the finance industry, if you will.
Okay.
I can't remember the title right now because you asked.
Sure. No, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, Dakota Grady. In the show notes, if you go over to the show notes, it'll show his title there and have a link to his information.
Okay.
That's part of our conversation was around how he published and the struggles he was having with publishing and the pros and cons of, because he was doing a lot of book shows. That's not what you call them. What are they called?
Book fairs?
No, when you go into a bookstore and you do a reading and you have a signing. That's
book signings, right? Yes.
So he had done a couple of those, and we were just talking about doing local ones versus like going to Atlanta or going to other cities and doing them, and the struggles he had with that. And so it's just very interesting to see you actually were getting your book out there and getting it sold, but you were doing the footwork to go and get it in the actual stores. I think his is more electronic.
Okay.
More so than he has some physical books, but I think he was focused more on getting the electronic sales of it. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so did you order like a specific number to have hard copy, or when they placed the order, you ordered them and had them shipped to the stores?
For the stores, I had hard copies. Before I started selling the books, though, I did pre-orders.
Mm-hmm.
I announced it on Facebook and, did pre-orders and shipped them out like that. Mm-hmm. But to get them in the stores, I actually had
to buy them and then
give yeah. So when I went to Atlanta, I just had some with me, and I was like, okay, can we put some of these in your store? So that's how that worked. So yeah. The ones in Philly, I had to mail those to Philly. So, yeah.
That is awesome.
Different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you planning to write another book? Do you have
I was just saying the other day, I was like, I might write another one, because I've even been asked by university to come and talk about the book now. So it's just presented so many different avenues,
opportunities.
So I was like, okay, I didn't even know. I might write another one on how, like my son plays violin, and so I was like, I told somebody the other day, I said, I might write something like how to raise a violin son.
Hey, life experiences, we all have them. We all have them.
You never know what part of your story is going to resonate with someone, and so that's what I've learned.
Yes, yes, that's so funny. That is so important. Yeah. Okay. See, I used to play violin. I wasn't that good.
Did you really? Okay. Oh, wow,
back in the day.
Did you? Okay. Nice. Yeah. So you know about being the violin student. He could tell you.
Look, twinkle, twinkle, little star. That's about as far as to get you right now.
Yeah, well, he's like now almost 20 years in. He's been playing since he was 5. Yeah,
for real. He's for real.
And the struggle was real getting him there, but he's good now. He even teaches now, so it's good.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's a good segue, because I know you kind of mentioned it earlier that you have 2 businesses, or is the other just kind of you just teach classes on the side with the dancing?
So I put everything under the World Class Training Institute now. I used to do it separately, but I said really it's all training. So I do the third piece is the dance it off, the fitness, personal training and group training. So I do every Saturday I do a group fitness class, and I have personal training clients as well. So that's the other part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so initially I was looking at it separately, and I was like, okay, it's called the World Class Training Institute, and it's all training. So
Yeah.
put it all together.
Yeah.
So now I have the 3 pillars.
And that's interesting because, about a year, it's probably been about 2 years ago, I went through this big just shift in my business because I used to brand everything under the happiness bucket, which is my company name, my business name. And I found that all of my speaking engagements, everything that I was doing, everybody knew me as the brand, right? I'm Dana L'Oreal Morales. Like that's how people connect with me. And because I coach, because I teach, that is what they resonate with. And so I had to do a shift, and everything is umbrellaed under the happiness bucket, but most of everything that you find for me is going to be Dana L'Oreal Morales, because that's who you're getting under this umbrella of the happiness bucket. So I'm glad that you mentioned that you kind of lumped it all together, because it is all related to training, and it is all done, but
right, exactly. Right. Yeah. And that's a good point that you raised, because when I was going to leave my lead company, I had spoken to another lady who owns a training and development organization as well. And she also mentioned, she said, well, initially they're buying you, and so to your point, they're buying you. And I recognize that as well. I just still keep it World Class Training Institute because, eventually I want to be able to have somebody else.
Right. I mean, seriously. And it's like, it was a really hard decision. I mean, because I still own both domain, my personal domain and the happiness bucket. But when I started looking at, I was redoing my branding, and I said, I really just want to brand under this. The happiness bucket is the umbrella. The coaching is here, the one-on-one coaching.
Right.
And then Organized Academy for me is that other little piece, which is the online on-demand coaching world.
Right.
And my hope, of course, is that each will take on its own little arm, and
absolutely,
but it's a very hard, as an entrepreneur, is a very hard decision to make of, do you brand for yourself, or do you brand for your company, or do you do both? And
exactly,
people struggle with that all the time.
Absolutely. That's true. That's so true. Yeah. Yes.
I'm looking at my little list. I have written out some.
Oh, that's okay. No. How long have you, while you're looking, how long have you been in business?
I have been in business since 2013. However,
okay, nice.
Look, however,
right.
My business evolved, it has completely changed. When I first started business, I was doing the reason I went into business is my husband is from Mexico. And so we were going through an immigration process, and I was like, reality check is he may not get approved. And if he doesn't get approved,
right,
you don't have to move,
Right.
And so I wanted to have a business that I wasn't reliant on having to learn a language and do all the things in a new country. And so that was my mental reason for going into business. My physical business that started was not in alignment whatsoever, because I was doing crafting and I was doing physical organization. And I'm like, okay, wait a second. If you went to a country, you still gonna have, you're building a clientele, they can't go with you.
Exactly.
So I really had to, and plus the crafting, it was not, I enjoyed crafting as a hobby.
Okay.
Crafting for others is a completely different situation.
I understand.
So I realized that's not really what I want to do. And so I went back to the drawing board, and I realized, I'm a project manager by day. That's
okay. Right.
And so I said, this is what where I resonate, organizing and process. Those are my jam. That's what the gift God gave me. And I need to focus on that. And so I kind of parlayed it from physically going into people's homes and organizing.
Sure.
Teaching them how to organize, because I found that many people don't understand that there is there's a process, there's a way to organize to ensure that it works and stays that way. You have to maintain,
Absolutely.
but you have to understand the layers, right? And so I began to do more consulting, more teaching, coaching. So that shifted my business. It was still on the personal side.
Sure.
And my clients started asking for business help. They're like, when I hired you, I went through this workflow and I want to know how to do that in my business,
Okay.
So that's how the business arm was added. And then I realized I need to work with people holistically, because really people who want first of all want to do like you did, is leave their full-time job and start their own. People who want to stay in their full-time job and have a side hustle. And then there's all different types of entrepreneurs, but they all have the same need of understanding how to create those processes in their business and all of that. And so that's how I became the holistic process strategist of teaching organizing holistically.
Okay, nice, very nice.
Okay, long way of telling you, but
yes, and to your point about you do have to evolve. So as you know yourself better, as you know the market better, you have to just shift with that. Just like I used to do all my classes, my fitness classes. Of course, they were live. So the place where I was doing it, they stopped having classes because of COVID a couple of times. The second time they did it, I said, no, I got to shift this.
Right.
The best thing ever. It was the best thing ever. And now I'm not going back. It's like, because I do it right from here. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because when you talk to people, they talk about the negative parts of the pandemic.
Yes.
Terrible 2020 was. And I know 2020 was terrible for a number of people. Everybody had struggles and people experienced death. We experienced death in our family, and so it was bad for a lot of people. But I like to look at what is the silver lining in all of what happened.
True.
And for
exactly.
me, honestly, Organized Holistically came out of the pandemic. It was an opportunity because, we were at home. I had more time in my day, and I had been wanting to start my podcast. I had actually started the podcast.
Right.
Wasn't really doing it. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, I know. Right. Yep.
I was like, it's something about it. And then the pandemic hit, and I'm like, I've always wanted to have guests on. Let me see what can happen with this. I created the process and did all that.
Right.
And the first, I would say the first month or two, I had gone to a couple of Connect Nashville meetings, and I just missed it, right? Literally, I booked the entire season up for 2020 and had them all recorded like within 2 months.
Amazing.
The whole season.
Isn't that something? Right.
It was just putting it out there, taking a moment, thinking it through and putting it out there. And that's how it was born. And I have loved the experience because I get
Isn't that amazing?
So many people.
Yes. That's what it is. Yes. So
the lessons that you learn from each other.
Yes.
Are invaluable.
So valuable. You're so right about that. Yeah. So if we do look at it like that, like, okay, what can I garner from this to make me better, and to make who I serve better? And
pivots aren't always bad.
No, they are not.
They are not always bad. And honestly, it revealed a lot to some business owners of holes. I like to call them business leaks that they have in their business. And you have a lot of holes.
Right. That's right. That's right. We're wasting money in some areas. I used to think I was dragging my speaker out, wasting it. And now I do it from here. My speaker stays nice. I get to see people, like I train my group fitness to people, a friend of mine in Chicago, she's on a subscription, St. Louis. Exactly. It grew my business.
Because we created walls for ourselves.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
Local, we got to do this here. But in reality, there's people to help all over the world.
All over the world.
The beauty of having an online business specifically in that you don't have those barriers.
That's right. Yep, that's so true.
As far as your imagination can go, and just think outside the box too.
That's it. Yep, that's right.
I applaud the young people for some of the the things that they came up with during the pandemic of having parties online and people to come into the party and DJs having a whole set online. I'm
yes,
like,
yes.
Thought of this.
Yes,
you know?
yes. I don't know if you listen on Instagram, but D-Nice, I mean,
Oh my gosh, I was just about to say that.
Oh my goodness. I'm like, this.
I was just about to say that. Like, I have been
when
up
D-Nice is on the mic
and listening to him play music. And I'm like, what's wrong with you?
Yes. No, one night he did a CQ after dark, and I'm like, I know it's too late. I'm supposed to be asleep.
Right.
I want to
right. You so good. Listen, reminiscing. But I mean, and you meet so many people, and I know it's online, and you're texting, but you feel like you're connecting with those individuals because you all have a commonality, but with D-Nice, you know?
Exactly. That's right. Yes, that's so true. So true. Yes.
Yeah. It was the other night. I was listening. I connected with him. He was live, but he was with another DJ, and I can't remember that DJ's name, but they were battling online.
Wow.
And it was so funny because one would play one song and the other was like, oh, I can one up you, and they played something else. And I mean, it was just a cool feeling.
I bet it was. Yes. So you're right.
That is hilarious.
Yes.
Sitting up.
I know.
All in the eyes trying to listen to D-Nice.
Yeah, the versus battles. I don't know if you've ever watched those on Instagram, but
I keep missing them.
Oh my goodness, with Jill Scott and Erykah Badu, it was just amazing.
I missed that.
Yes. I'm like, just
those
beautiful.
Verses.
Yes, those are good too. And my favorite actually was the gospel one. It was Kirk Franklin and Fred Hammond, and it was right after all the stuff had happened with George Floyd. Yeah, I mean,
I missed those.
Yes, amazing.
I haven't caught one live. I some of them on replay, but I haven't caught any of them live.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you know, some of them they have the rap people and stuff, but I don't catch too much of that. But yeah, they've been very good, and those were born out of the pandemic. It was like
out of the pandemic.
Yes.
Because we went total Instagram right now.
Yes.
But what is your platform of choice on social?
That's a great question.
And why?
So I have a trifecta. I don't for different reasons. So I use Facebook, I use Instagram, and I use LinkedIn.
Okay.
And so, yeah, Facebook, because that's where I know the most people. I would say, right now I know the most people on Facebook. Instagram, because it's just, you know, from a trend standpoint, I feel like you have to be on Instagram. You have to have that presence. People, even though from a business standpoint, I don't know if it's necessary, at least the personal and leadership development side. I don't know if that's the best place, but I was told to still have a presence on IG for that. Now, the dance it off, like the group fitness stuff, I think that's a great place for Instagram.
Yeah.
But then, of course, in LinkedIn for the professional and leadership development side, that's the best.
Yeah.
That's mine of choice for that piece of the business. Definitely.
Yeah, I think it's important to distinguish, right? And I'm glad that you pinpointed that, because it is important. Each platform has its purpose.
Right.
And especially for businesses like ours that have different arms and different kind of communities that it's serving.
Right.
To know, you know, don't go over to LinkedIn posting a bunch of workout videos because it's not going to pan out. Right.
Right.
And just your overall presence is different. You know, I say, you know, I stalked you, but I went out and I looked at all the social. I mean, I do that with all of my guests because I'm like, I want to see.
Yes, as you should. You got to research.
Exactly. And most of my guests, I don't know ahead of time. Some of them I do. And so I like to go out and just see, as a person who doesn't necessarily know you, what is my takeaway or what are the questions that I have? And that's where I know the questions that I ask come from that vein of just, okay, what did I
Right.
get from this person? And so when I went out and looked at yours, I did notice, I was like, okay, she's doing the personal stuff over here. I'm sorry, the leadership stuff over here.
Right.
I went to Facebook, and that's how I knew that you had the dance stuff, because I saw a link to that on your Facebook page. But then I could tell there was a different feel between with your Instagram and your Facebook. There was a different feel than LinkedIn.
Right. Absolutely.
So,
Yep. Yep. That's true. Yep. That's true. Because you got to show up differently to different audiences. Like I'm doing a virtual vision party today, and all of the people who are coming are from Facebook.
Yeah.
You know, even though it's kind of like it's a business thing, but it's not, because it's helping people. But that's where, as they say, my tribe is. So, so that's where I was able to, you know, get my business.
But I mean, when you think about your business, it's leadership, but the leadership is for people.
Yes, exactly.
As a person, I'm the one who is working to become a good leader. So although it's business related, you're dealing with the person just on a business persona. And really it's not, look, I'm busting out some coaching. It's really not all business. It's basically you are looking at this person and teaching them leadership, but that
how to lead your life
be applied in personal or business.
That's right. Because you got to lead your life before you ever lead others.
Exactly.
So you're right. You're right about that. Yeah.
And then I know you talk a lot about human capital and hello.
Right.
You know, like, how important are you? What is your value? And for us, as women, I'm going to say, a lot of times we undervalue ourselves.
We do. That's true.
You can't expect somebody else to value you if you don't value yourself.
That is so true.
That's a huge piece.
Right. You are so right. So true. Yep. Good stuff. Good deal. Yes.
So what happens in a vision party? What is your definition, and what is your process for your vision party?
Oh, it's going to be so amazing. The reason a friend of mine actually came up with the title, not the title, he came up with the idea of Blackjack. He was like, everybody's been talking about the vision board, not the vision board. I'm sorry. 2020 was, 2020 vision. It's like, I feel like 21 is a blackjack year. We're going to hit jackpot in 2021. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is amazing.
Please, to the Lord's ears.
Well, so last year I had done one which was called the Breakthrough, and that was live, but I was like, I'll do a vision party on it. So to answer your question about how it's going to be set up, when you think about blackjack, your dealt cards, and certain cards you want to hold, certain cards you may want to draw into your hand so that you can achieve a jackpot. And then if you go over, you'll bust. Right. So we're going to first start off by talking about gratitude, this idea of gratitude, because you want to celebrate where you've been last year. To your point about, we could always say 2020 was the worst year, but if you really double down on that, and I have a segment in there where we're going to do a little thing from Oprah, but just tell you a little clip of that. She says, you know what, whenever you want to complain or think about, what you don't have, always remember your breath, because as long as you have that, you have something. And start your moment of gratitude from there. So we're going to talk about gratitude first, and then we're going to talk about that idea that I just talked about with blackjack, where what are you holding in your hands? What are you holding in your life right now that you have, that you can max out on, or your superpower? Then what are things that you want to draw into your life so that you can get the jackpot that you want in your life? And then finally, what are some things that you're doing that if you keep doing them, you'll bust, And so we're going to have some breakout rooms around that. Yeah, we're going to have some breakout rooms around that idea. And then there's an online platform that they're going to use to actually create their vision board, come back, and then they'll do another breakout room with a couple of, people to talk about what they have. And then we'll have an accountability moment at the end. So, I'm a trainer.
Yeah.
In my spirit. So it's a training.
I mean, the way that you packaged it is really nice. And I love the kind of the messaging of, you continue to do these things and you're
right.
This is what's going, you're going to bust.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So true. And I would refer to that as decluttering decluttering these things out of your life.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Holding you back.
Holding you back. Yeah. And it could be just too much procrastination.
Yes. Yes. You know, it's so funny. My mom and I have conversation all the time, and I'm like, well, you need to do X, Y, Z. And she's like, well, I'll do that later. I just don't have time right now. It's just too much going on. I was like, you are retired. Like, I don't understand what all you got going on.
Right.
You know, like, what is happening? Because you used to say that when you were working. Now you're retired. So now,
Right.
you know. So it's just funny the way that we mentally block ourselves because we're too tired, we're too busy, we're too, you know, and it's like you're always going to come up with something.
Yeah,
You gotta
that's
set
right.
goals and really work towards attaining where it is that you truly want to be in life.
That's right. Yes, exactly. Yep, that's true. And just know, tell mama, look, every day you get another 86,400 of these seconds. What you gonna do with them? Right? don't let
No,
this
she pulls the
86,400 keep going back.
Daughter, I'm like,
oh well, then you got it.
But you don't have her every day, you know. So it's like, you know, wait a second, mama. Now wait a second.
Ooh, but if mama's got the daughter, you got it.
They'll get you every time.
She's holding the ace card on you, though. If she got you.
She holding it, dangling. I'm like, okay, okay. I'll give you a
right, exactly.
Now what? You know?
Yes. yes.
She is a blessing. I can't even complain.
She is, I'm sure. Yes. Nothing like mama.
So is there anything coming up that you want to shed a light on or let people know about so that they can check it out?
Well, I would just say I'll go to 2 areas on if you need to get your health together, you can always contact me for any of your personal training, your group training needs. I do group training every Saturday. I do personal training one-on-one, and I'm certified by the National Academy of Sports Medicine. So we do an approach where we meet you pretty much where you are. So it goes from stabilization through hypertrophy, which is when you're really building your muscles up. So if you need any of that, call me.
What is it? Like pool.
Yeah, that's for the bodybuilders. Most people don't go all the way up to level 5, but at any rate, meet you where you are with that. And then any organizations looking for leadership or professional development, worldclasstraining.net/book-online, and I will be happy to have a conversation with you about setting up time for your team. So and always you can buy my book if you need my book. We got that too. That's got that too. worldclasstraining.net/shop. If you want an autographed copy of the book, I have that for you as well.
So I'll make sure to put all of that in the show notes.
Okay,
so that if anybody's interested, they'll be able to check it out. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dana. I appreciate you. And much success to you as well. I wish you an amazing year. I'm sure you will have one. Yes.
Like I said, from your lips. Okay.
Yes. To God's ears. Right. It's already done. Thank
you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.